Okay, I did just pressure test this engine. And what you do is you want to do less than 5 psi, no more than. And you spray this with soapy water. I use Dawn, not that it matters. But I've got no bubbles at my seal. I've got no bubbles from my head. No bubbles coming from my power valve covers. This isn't as big of a deal. This is my exhaust. Obviously, it's sealed. My front seal, no bubbles. I don't see any bubbles coming out from or underneath the jugs or the cylinders. This engine is ready to go in a ski. Basically, you want to leave air pressure in there for like 2 minutes tops. Just make sure that when you pressurize this, your needle's holding. It's down now because I did end up popping this. I've paid somebody to build, I sent them a cover to weld holes on one of these for me. People have also put in the comments of a video, hey, you can use a piece of rubber roofing. I've heard of people using rubber shower mats. Just anything that can seal this off to keep your pressure in and give yourself a good pressure test for your block. Because if it's leaking air, you're going to end up burning your engine up. It's going to have a lean condition. You're going to have problems. So this one's ready to go. So I guess I put it in. Best to be done with your front off so that you can check that seal. That seal usually isn't the issue. It's usually going to be your rear. Usually going to be your rear seal that causes you problems. So that's that. Let's put this engine, finish putting it together. I'm not going to video that because I've already shown that before. Let's put this in a ski. See if we can get it going. Don't forget to put your exhaust gasket in. If you did it the same way I did with a single plate, put your gasket back in. Okay, 4 bolts one way, 1 bolt going the other way. Okay, so I just vacuumed the hull out. This is a seal for my seat. I need to re-glue it apparently. It's falling off. There's the engine mount bolts. The shims are placed by the engine mount where they came out, so those are going to go right back. Doing that should line this up perfectly. If I kept the same shims in the same place where they came out with the same block going back in, that should give me perfect alignment on my coupling. We're free here, so there's nothing in the jet pump locking it up. The only thing I'm concerned about is this is all ganked out. That's where they took the wiring out for the engine. So that'll be fun, remembering how all that goes. Let's see, the oil pump is just hooked back up in there. All right, let's go ahead and I want to blow this out really well. The carburetor has been sitting in there. I'm going to try to do this without building the carb. We'll look at the plugs and see how it's running, or if it runs crap, I know it's a carburetor. All right. Okay, so I'm getting everything ready to drop an engine in here. I've got my carb up out of the way, my cables. I've already got the bracket on the engine, but I don't want to confuse my cables. Now, number 2 is always going to have a 2 on it. The 1 has nothing. It's just, there's no marking. It goes on cylinder for slot 1. 1, 2. Those cables, it does matter where they are so that it pulls. So I've got to take this bracket off, but I don't want to do that until I'm ready to go back on so that I don't get them confused as to where they go in position. This was already kind of apart. That wiring is going to scare a few of you because it's so much. Pretty much you color match. The 2 greens don't matter. Doesn't matter which side you plug that up to. You've got your fuse going into your relay. If you'll notice, the fuse has a hot wire on this side, that's closest to the fuse, that runs to the relay. okay? And then that's a ground. So there's a lot of grounds. There's going to be more grounds that are coming in with the wiring. And of course, there's this rubber seal, which is all up under here. You don't have to worry about that. But you want to get, this was sealed down in here with a tie wrap. But I want to be able to get to this. I want to be able to attach that to my engine when I come in. So I cut that tie wrap so that I've got more motion on this so it's not stuck down here. I like to get this connected with the engine hanging. I'm going to just grab this engine and muscle it in. You want this clamp with the bolt facing up like this. You've got your rubber piece that has to go in here. I've got my shims ready, my bolts ready to put it in. I'm going to go ahead and change the oil lines. These are the skinnier ones. I don't like those. I'm going to change those out while this is loose out in the car. All right, the engine's down in there. My biggest challenge has been trying to find all the bolts. I just found all the carb bolts. Your two middle carb bolts have Allen heads. It's a 5mm Allen screw. Kawasaki carbs use the same. They're all Allens. But for some reason, Yamaha used two Allens down in the middle, probably because they felt like, well, it's hard to get a wrench down in to get on that bolt. So they used Allen. Just stick your 5mm Allen, boom, take it loose. I went ahead and pulled the oil lines, and I'm going to go with this. See this line? It's still like 1/4 inch diameter. I just like it better than this thin stuff like this. Just a little bit heavier duty line. So I'm going to swap those out, and I'm going to put the oetiker style clamps on it. They had tie wraps. I don't trust tie wraps. It's this one. And you can order just these from Amazon. You can order this whole kit, about 25 bucks. The airbox does have rubber seals. You see these in here? For some reason, this airbox had a whole another set of seals. I guess they're off the other ski. I don't know. But those seals can come out. But these are in. These are bad about coming loose, like off like that. You got 4 tins that hold this fire suppression screen on. That's what that's there for your airbox. And then that's what mounts the airbox to the carb. But I'm going to start with getting the oil lines ready. I really can't attach them right now because I've got to do the whole oil line on the pump thing and then attach them to the carb. So maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here. What I'll go ahead and do is bolt the carburetor to the block while I've got this over. Just makes it easier to get to and work with before I set that engine. So this is the first time I've done it this way. I just decided it's just you don't have much clearance when the engine's bolted between that wall and fooling with all of this. So while I've got it not bolted, I'm going to do this. All right, so there's a lot going on. Carburetor's bolted in. So remember, 2 5mm Allens sitting down here in the middle. So, and I've had people comment, oh, I took the 4 bolts off of the carburetor, it's still on. Well, there's 6 bolts holding this thing on. 2 of them are Allens. They're down here in the middle where you really can't see them too well. But 4 10mm, they're long, they bolt up. Like I say, there's a plate underneath there, brand new gasket. That's ready to go. I'm hoping these carbs were built when this engine was built. They put the thing together wrong, blew it up. So I'm hoping the carb was already built. I'm going to find out soon enough. All right, so a lot going on. You got to put your little rubber damper back in your coupler to do the slide back together. This is your heat sensor that goes in your exhaust. It goes in that piece once it's installed. What else? So my next move is to go ahead and get this thing set and slid up into the coupler. Then I'll stick bolts in, but I won't tighten them because I got to put the shims. The shims go between the engine here and the mount. And so you can put your little pry bar or something up underneath to pry the engine up to slide each shim in, and then tighten up your engine mounts. That's the way that I do it. I've also got the two cables for the shoot, I can't even think of it, the power valve motor. Hopefully that works. You know, there's a whole lot going on. I got all the wiring to do. So I'm going to try to do another detailed video with installing this, but I'm showing you what I've done so far. I've got my water hose ready to connect to the block down here. Okay, so that's where your water that cools your engine comes in and circulates around in the cylinders, cools the entire engine. So I've got to get that connected. That's my next step, and then I slide back into position. I can't set the stand up over there because I've got another ski, and I can't have it here in my way. So I'm just telling you that's what I'm about to do. I'm not going to be able to film that because I would have to have the tiny tripod sitting in the hull or something like that. And this is the head off of my tiny tripod because I busted the other one. All right, so you're going in. You can see I've already made a mistake here because this carburetor's twisted around my cables. So now it's either undo the cables or undo the hoses. Probably just going to pop the hoses since they're just tie wrapped on top and get that untwisted from where I was manipulating. You've got to watch how you put this stuff back in here. Just like the wiring, you don't want anything hitting that because it spins. So it has to be laid underneath or up, over, and around. So you have, I'm done down here with my clamp. It's tight. A 1/4 inch nut driver works just fine for that. Okay, the shims are in place. I said when you pull the engine, just lay the shims out in the order that they come out, and then this alignment will be on. You want this back off of this. You don't want the metal touching the metal on the coupler, so just back off because you've got a little bit of play with before you tighten the bolts down. But your alignment, you'll feel like a smooth transition from this to this and this to this. And there is a video, somebody's done it and I've watched it, where you can measure this and see what kind of shim you need and figure out where you need to put it and all that. I'm not going into all that. Put the shims back where they came from and you're pretty much going to be set with this alignment so that you're minimized on the vibration. Now, you just got to make sure when you're going back in, here's your negative terminal that comes off where the starter goes. That runs through down here. Now, you can't just throw it in there because this shaft is spinning. So you got to go under. You got to go under, or you tie wrap it so that it won't, you know, if you're going high, you've got to tie wrap it so that it won't hit that spinning shaft and rub a hole through your cable. You've got to do that with everything that goes anywhere near that. Make sure it's tie wrapped away so that nothing is touching that. There is a plastic cover that goes over that. So your hot wire goes up into this box on this terminal. All right, I got all of the wiring for the exciter box, which is there. The main clips, when you put them on, you want to hear them click. They'll click into place when you've got them seated all the way. There's going to be 4 grounds under one screw and 3 under the other. So you got a lot of grounds that you're dealing with. But all of this tucks under this little thing, locks into place and kind of tucks that wiring. You put your little rubber gasket down. You might want to check your little glass fuse or put in the newer style blade type fuse if you want to get rid of the glass one while you've got this open. Get you a different fuse holder, put in one of those blade type if you don't like the glass ones. That's an easy enough wire clip job. If you have corrosion, especially under your grounds or whatever, because you've got a saltwater ski, you've got to clean that. You've got to have good grounds for these electronics to work properly. Sometimes if you get just a click, 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 it may be that this solenoid is bad on you. That's the solenoid or starter relay, whatever you want to call it. Could be that. This is your coil. It's a double coil. Both fire off of one. I think both fire at the same time all the time. In other words, it doesn't sequence at all. When it fires both at one time. That's the way these run. Not necessarily that you're on a power stroke when it's firing. It fires dead. Anyway, what else? I think it's a voltage regulator right here. And that's pretty much it. The components, don't let this scare you, because they've got the terminals, the wires color-coded in such a way that they'll pretty much only go back together one way. So don't let this bundle of wires go, oh no, I'll never get that all back together. It is color-coded, and pretty much male, female terminals, they'll only go back together one way. So that's why you can make it look easy, you know, have these wires hanging everywhere and they'll all just color code back together. All right, so I've got to make sure that I put this together correctly, otherwise it will not start. If you put them backwards, it will not start. So I've got to remember for sure, I might have to refer to one of my old videos, to put these on correctly. The starter goes to one. The other one is the hot wire to the battery coming out of there. So you got a hot battery wire and a starter wire that come in from the bottom, and they've got one of these rubber seals on. And that's it for the electrical. And you can put your screws in your box back together. But it's easier to get this thing out with the two 12 millimeters and lay it up here and work on it than trying to have it on that firewall working on it. Okay, so this side is your battery, which this side's closer to the battery. You would think it would be opposite, but it's not. They're opposite. This side is the starter. Okay? Battery, starter, battery. If you're facing it, it's on the right, starter on the left. Starter, battery has a red sleeve cover over the cabling, and the starter has a clear cover protecting the cabling. Okay, so I just noticed that this ski has a different style of bracket that holds the cable, so I've got to use this one. These, the threaded rod threads into the bracket. That bracket uses the same, just the cable that slips over and you tighten the nut on either side of it. So I've got to, with these cables, I've got to use this bracket. So didn't know there were two styles. I do now. What else? I've got the cover put over the power takeoff coupling. It's just one 10 millimeter bolt. It's got a sleeve that goes around the bolt so that you can't over tighten it where it would crush the plastic down. And then on the ears, there's just two little rubber pieces that fit into the ears. Let's see, I've got one of the covers over here from the other ski. I'll show you real quick. So it's like this. Very simple. One screw, one bolt, rubber tab. It just, you flip it over, then your cover's back on, your PTO. And so your negative battery cable goes under there. You can see, let's see if I can zoom this in. All right, the cleanest black, this one. That's my negative battery. And so down in the bottom, you can see it running there. Because the casing is on it, the siphon that's under there, so that while you're driving the ski, if there's water in your hull, the siphon will siphon water out. It has a cup-shaped piece like this, and that fits perfectly into that siphon, so that you keep it out of the way of the PTO shaft. Now, then over here, I went ahead and had a tie wrap set up and zip tied that right there, so that while you're on the waves and they're bouncing, see that zip tie, that thing isn't banging all around in the hull. So it's zip tied in factory style, baby. All right, so the other issue is you've got cables that are going to be running along here and then along here. So there's going to be, I'm going to have to take this tie loose, get things tucked under that, and then also with the electric box, it's missing several bolts. I think I've got one or two of those as a spare. I'm gonna have to go snag the bolts out of it and put them in this one. So those are 8mm. I think it's 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 12 bolts, 8mm heads. You can see this holds some of the stuff on the bottom. This is one of those factory Yamaha tie wraps that can be reused. It just goes in the channel and then you thumb this to release it and reuse that tie wrap. Also on the top of this, you've got wires that come over the top. You've got channels right there to run a regular tie wrap through to bundle your wires up against this so they're nice and neat and tucked in. Everything nice and tight, not flopping around loose on you. And of course, you've got to get all your exhaust bolts tightened down well, because if you leave any of them loose, you will wallow that aluminum out and then you no longer have a tight exhaust. The engine is in, bolted. I've got to get the box bolted back to the firewall and all of the bolts put in that box. That is the next step that I'm going to do. I don't see the point in videoing that for you. 12 8mm bolts, tighten them down. Okay, so we're back out on the 800. I got the engine. And I'm working on putting it in. You got all these little things that you got to check. My next step is to go ahead and get my oil lines ready and get my lines primed with the drill and get the pump installed. And of course the pump has the lines. You have to line up this is an extra little piece that's on the end here. If you don't have this extra little piece, your pump is not going to fit onto the drive bolt that's in the front of the engine. You've got to have this on there, and it can come off. It's really easy to break the ears on these, so you got to be careful. What else? Oh yeah, and the cable. You've got the cable that meters the oil flow, and I think there's an adjustment for that. I think I did a video about it. There's actually a mark on here that lines up with a mark in the body, so that you get this thing working like it's supposed to. So that's a thing. Anyway, so I'm checking all of my tie wraps for everything. I've got my fuel lines unwrapped from my throttle cable and my choke cable, which it was. I showed that on video. So now it's let's do the pump. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show this one. Still, they kept the check valves. See, let's get a focus. See the arrow on the check valve? It tells you the direction of the flow. So that check valve keeps the oil from running back down the tube and back into the pump. So that's the purpose of those little jewels. There's the arrow. It shows you the direction of flow. So I'm going to go ahead and reuse those on this build. Okay, so what you do, get your drill, open it up, get it on your pump. You can also use a piece of rubber hose, small enough to fit around that, or big enough to fit around that, and then within the drill. And it'll give you a little bit smoother operation if you stick a hose from this drill to the pump instead of a direct drive like this. You can get a little wobble, and that wobble can make that end piece come undone. You run the drill in reverse to prime your pump. If you run it forward, you're going to be pushing oil back into the oil pump, and you're never going to prime your lines. You have to run the drill in reverse to get these to prime. If you're putting on a new oil pump, you've got your main air release right here on the top. You need to crack that open until oil runs out. Of course, I've got it up above the level of the tank. The oil isn't going to flow. You have to put it down in the hull, crack this open, oil flows, okay, then your pump's ready to prime. Okay? I'm using oetiker clamps to attach my hoses to the pump and to the carburetor. But we will not attach them to the carburetor until they're primed. So this will turn a nice, lovely greenish blue color. I can go ahead and crimp this. Now these crimps can be done with the crimping tool that comes with the oetiker clamp kit that you can order on eBay. I'll put a link in the description to order the kit. Or you can use regular side cut wire cutter pliers to crimp these oetiker clamps. I'll show that first instead of using the tool. I'll show you. They've got a little raised edge. You get this on there and get it over. Get your hose on fully seated. That seems to show too good. I wish I had someone who could do the camera work for me. That's the best I can do with it. Maybe I can zoom in a little. See if that'll help. Can't really see. Zoom back out. Crimp this. Just like this. That's not going to come off like a tie wrap would. And they're single-use clamps. It's never coming off. Now I tie wrap this. You want to use oetikers on this, but I've tie wrapped it for now because sometimes these are clogged and they don't work. So that's why there's not an oetiker on that yet. So you want to make sure that your hoses are long enough to reach where they've got to go on the carb. And horrible film work here. I really wish I could put this camera on the other side and show this better, but let's try to get a little zoom action going. So I'm about to do the drill, about to do the whole pump thing. Let's go. I've got my lines, they're ready. One a little shorter than the other. They've got the check valves in place. Let's rip it. Drill is set in reverse, let's go. Now, if you were doing this in you need to open this up. So this would be just like you were throttling the ski. It allows the oil to flow faster. And it takes a while and it's pretty slow moving. I've done a whole video with just priming these lines. I may still need to be a little lower. The gravity working in my favor. I don't see anything coming. So, I'm in reverse. I'm doing everything I need to be doing, but I'm not getting any action on the, there we go. I'm starting to see it now. See if I can push them up with my finger so you can see the oil. See the oil flowing through the lines? And I want to make sure it goes through those check valves. Let's get it up here. It'll still flow for you. Yeah, see it's going. We're almost to the check valves. Okay, one just hit the check valve. The other one's not. Let's get it back down here. It's a little bit better. A little bit better on me. Second one just hit the check valve. Now, that check valve is a small restriction, so it's going to be a slow flow through that. I want to make sure that that oil comes out the other side of the check valve. If it doesn't, I'm just going to pull the check valve and I've got to cut a new line. I'm getting bubbles in my one line over here. You want to run all of those out. So I think really I need to be lower with this pump down here, and it really hurts my hand. I need to wear a glove. Let me stop for a minute. I'll show you what's going on. See the bubbles? See the air bubbles in the one line from the oil? Which is nice about this Tygon. This is a Tygon line. It's 1/8 of an inch, I believe, on the inside diameter, 1/4 inch outside diameter Tygon line. And you don't want bubbles like this, okay? You want to run it. All those bubbles are gone. So you'll probably want a rag or a cup because one of them is obviously shorter. It's going to finish up before the other and you're going to be pumping oil into your hull. So put something there to catch the oil so you don't make a mess. And it looks like we've gone through one check valve. Looks like it's, I don't know if that's the tip of the thing sticking through, but you get the gist of it. This is what I'm going to do. And get the oil pumped through the whole thing. I'm going to go put on a glove because holding that cam back, it's got spring tension and it's really digging into my thumb. Okay, so you can see here we got some fully primed oil lines ready to go. So I put oetiker clamps on them, slip them on. Now look, this is the piece I was telling you. Your oil pump will not touch your crankshaft without this little piece that goes on the end of the oil pump shaft, drive shaft. It sits in there too far, so they had to put a spacer on the oil pump, and that spacer came off when I tried to disconnect the drill from the pump. Pops right back on though, see that? All right, so that's ready to go. There is a gasket. I have already got that with some sealant stuck to my engine block, and now this oil pump can go on. 2 10mm bolts. I left them threaded in the front of the engine block, and you've got to turn the pump, find out, because you've got a slotted shaft that this has got to fit into. Your pump isn't going to fit on all the way until you get it put in just the right position to fit in. Okay, so that's what I'm doing next. I really can't show that because I have to hold the pump, put a bolt in, and I have a camera. I can't do it. So I'm just telling you what I'm about to do. I can't show it to you. All right, so let's talk about adjusting your oil pump for its flow rate and all that sort of thing. I've talked about this before in a video. Do you see the little line at the end of my thumbnail in the pump? Do you see the dot on the pump? Do you see the line in the body of the pump? Okay, so when you're adjusting the cable, you want this line, that dot, right at that line that's on the body. And so when you full throttle, you want that line right there to line up with that line. That's your adjustment for your oil pump on a Yamaha 2-stroke, all of them. So that's why you've got all this thread and the cable, so you can get the adjustment. And look, if you don't get it perfect, you're going to be fine. As a matter of fact, this one swings a little past that flat line when I full throttle it. I'm going to call it good. See if I can show it. I'm going to hit the throttle. See if I can get the pump to lay in a position where I can video that. Now, see, I can't. So I've got to hold this and hold the phone to even show you this. But when I hit the throttle, it goes just a little past the flat line. That's good. All right, so it's in. Take a look at the pump. The top bolt's kind of hard to get in because that curved part where the cable runs over is blocking your access. You got to use a quarter drive or a wrench. It'll take forever. The bottom one's easier. Bottom bolt. And that's ready to go. Make sure you put Loctite on that because you don't want your oil pump coming loose, and then you'll lose your oil lubrication to your cylinders. All right, so we're in here. Oil line on the front, right there, oetiker clamp. You've got to use the side cutter, like wire cutters here, because the oetiker tool will not fit in there. Here too, done. Oetiker's on. You've got a little hole here at the end of your carburetor to put a tie wrap on to tie your lines in so they're not flopping all over the place. That job is done. Oil line's primed, ready to go. All the bubbles are out of the lines. So when I turn that engine over, that oil's just going to go doop, 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 pumping in just like it's supposed to. And we know the pump's working because there it was with the drill working just fine. Lots of people don't like to run the pumps. I'll mention it again. These were designed to have the oil metered by a pump. People don't want to run it. They want to run premix. You run 40-to-1 premix if you're going to do that. But you also got to remember, you loan your ski to somebody, they forget to premix your fuel, they've ruined your engine for you. So that's the thing. These pumps hardly ever fail. People want to say, oh, the pump failed. It's not the pump that fails, it is the lines. Yamaha put some really crappy lines on. They would get hard, brittle, they'd break, or they'd slide off because they used tie wraps from the factory to install them. You'd lose an engine, a cylinder in an engine because the oil line came off. So some people just go straight premix, don't worry about it. If you do premix, please put around your fuel cap premix, and it wouldn't hurt to put the ratio for them, especially if you're loaning your ski out to anybody to use. So the next step here with this particular ski is to put the exhaust on. Everything else is done and ready, fuel system ready. carb ready, hoping that carb was a rebuild job. It looks so clean, I kind of think it was. And the engine failed very shortly after being put together, so we're gonna see. Okay, so our next step is putting the exhaust in. I got the boots ready to go. This one side and this one clamp, you never really have to take it loose. They did because they didn't know. You leave this side nice and loose so that exhaust can slip in. I've also lubed it up with soapy water to make it easy to slip in. This boot will tear pretty dang easily trying to install the exhaust back onto this. You catch it wrong, it will actually cut that rubber, and maybe it only does it with this older. You want this boot with both clamps ready to go, slipped on with this nozzle facing this direction because it goes on this pipe, okay? I think that is your little weep hole up in the front of your jet ski, or Waverunner in this case. That's where the water goes onto the weep hole. So basically, two boots, one is for the exhaust gas, the other is water is passing through it. And lots of times is this particular, people will get holes or the leak, oh, my ski's leaking, and it could be one of these freeze plug type deals that's rusted out, because this is aluminum, but it can rust through, and I've seen people repair it with welds or JB weld, and you've also got a threaded one here. So this is generally where you might find a crack or a leak in your exhaust, and you'll be water going into your hull. But there's water and exhaust gas coming out of here. This is where your temperature sensor goes. This is that stand up that the long bolt goes into. I do this all in one piece. Now usually I take these off, they left them on. And then you've got two 12mm head large bolts that go down in here. It's critical to have all of this stuff bolted so that you got a good solid mount on your exhaust. You need all of these bolts. Do not leave any of them off. I've got a video. I'll show you what happens. I need to release that video. It's been in queue for a long time, but I need to go ahead and release that and let you see what happens when you leave this loose. You've got a Zerk fitting here, grease fitting. You pop the little rubber cap off and you can get to it. There's a hose that connects to that. Let's show you that. Since we're on the subject, right there, just put that on with a zip tie onto that Zerk fitting. It goes to grease that carrier bearing down there. So when you're going in with this, you probably want to have your spark plug wires pulled, because you got this big unit, you're coming in and you're kind of going with that end down and into that boot down there. You got to have your clamp ready on it. And then you want to make sure that you go, in other words, you don't want any of this wiring on this side of the exhaust when you're going in. You want it over on this side. And then we're going to tie all that up when we're done. We're going to tie all the wiring up when we're done like it's supposed to be. So exhaust is going in next. All right, let's do this. So I don't think I have ever tried to video me installing the exhaust system, because it's a two-hand job. Basically, you're coming in like this, and you got to kind of finagle it. It's much worse on a 1200 than it is on an 800. You've got to get it turned, but what you've got to do first, getting it in, is to get it in your bottom boot. It has to start fitting in that boot before you try fitting anything else where it needs to be. That boot has got to get around that base piece. I can't show that on video because I'm over on a stand with that, and there's no way I could video without this stand. All right, I'm in. I'm going to push from here, and I think I'm almost in that boot. So I usually take the muffler, the actual muffler, loose so that it can move back and forth like this. Right now it's pushed back, so that's why this isn't lining up like it's supposed to. I've got the strap off of it. If I pull it forward, everything lines up. Grenade! That was my brother acting a fool. He threw a fake grenade at me. All right, I'm in. If I can show you this. Let me take the phone out of the holder. Down there, I'm in my boot. So I'm in my boot, and I've got all of my wiring to this side like I want it. Now, I'm not perfectly centered, so I've got to do a little wiggling to get this right. I don't know if I can do it with one hand or if I gotta. That gets it on. It's still a little pushed wrong, but you can see where it seats. There's a little flange right here. You want it seated against that all the way. So I need to pick it up at an angle again. Let's take a look at what's going on. So we're still here, we're loose. That slipped right in with the soapy water, worked great. I went ahead and sprayed down there with some soapy water on that end, which I had not done, slipped right in. You can see it's nice and fitted. See that? The soap kind of, and I had my clamp a little too tight. You gotta make sure that clamp's good and loose so that can fit right in there and just open up and receive that exhaust piece like it's supposed to. So that's in, all right? So then we look up here. What you wanna do, make sure all of your bolt holes are lining up. You've got 4 up here on top, and then you've got the 2 down there. You've got the 1 here, big long bolt that goes in there, that goes through. Now this bolt is usually super tight. When you're pulling it out, it's going to be, I mean, it's in there. So all of my holes look aligned good. So what you want to do now is get all of your bolts started. Don't fully tighten any of them. Started. So your 6 bolts here, 4 here, 2 down there. Get your heat, your temperature sensor bolted onto those 2 right there. Those 2 right there, that 10 millimeter, then this 1 big long one. I've got to find these bolts. Now that's what I got to do is go look for the bolts because I didn't take it apart. I got to find them. All right, so your temperature sender is this. This one, the grease was all dried up on it, so I took a little bit of grease and put it on there so that this thing won't seize up in the hole. You can see that it looks like one would go there too, but we don't go there. We go in the exhaust with this one. So now go ahead and pop that thing in, and then it's just that little bracket kind of just sits in there, and then 2 10 millimeters, tighten that up. You see I've got these started, these 4, these 2 are a little harder. Their bolt is this. So you've got the large bolt, but you got the small 12 millimeter head. I think they did that because of the limited space down in there. What I do is I wrap these with electrical tape so they fit tightly in the socket, because dropping them down into the hull while you're trying to get them in place is a very real thing. So wrap them with electrical tape first and then stick them in your socket. They'll fit real tight, and then you just go down in there with it. Temperature sensor's in. Go ahead and tighten up. Make sure both of your inner boot clamps are tight, good and snug. Slide your outer boot. I went ahead and put some more soapy water on, so I can see if I can do this with one hand while I'm holding the phone with the other. Usually it takes 2 hands to do this, and I think it's going to be no exception today. But anyway, you got to get this slipped back over, which is not easy to do with one hand. So I can't do it with one hand. Let me see if I can do this. All right, so let's try to get the outer boot in place. Should be able to do it with 2 hands. You want to make sure your clamps are up where you can get that nut driver on them. You can use a screwdriver. I don't. Nut driver's easier to get a good tight on it with. This one's going to be a pain. Don't know why, but it is. You can slip this off all the way. Do that with that, and then I just don't want those things cutting into my hand when I'm trying to slip this on. It is the bottom that is not cooperating. I don't have this thing bolted down yet, but we just don't have a good enough alignment that it's going right on, even though it's pretty dang close. It's not cooperating. So this is why I don't like the video, and I'm doing a spin maneuver trying to get it to slip on. Probably some more water or some grease would have been beneficial to get this sucker on there. So you got an ear. There it goes. There it went. So let me show you this. I'm gonna have to take the phone off of the stand to show you. This boot, see that right there? There's a groove in the exhaust that big tab fits into perfectly. And when you've got that lined up, you know you got the boot on all the way and it's where it's supposed to be. So then get your clamps back up on here and tighten them up. Get your clamps back on here and tighten them up. Spin it around. That's not much off track. You got to watch these because they'll want to be crooked on you. You want them straight in the track, in the groove that they're supposed to be in. So tighten, tighten. All right, those are on. Might as well go ahead and throw your hose on. Make sure your clamps on hits this part. Slip this in. Tighten that up. Quarter drive, nut driver will tighten that one. So here's what I was talking about. You wrap the bolts in electrical tape. They fit really tight. And then you can get them vertical. Put them in these slots. Get them started. These especially, finger start them. Do not try to do it with an impact or anything mechanical. To get these started, you're going into aluminum here. And you want to finger. You've got to manipulate this thing sometimes to get these to start, or you're going to cross thread these, you're going to strip it out, and then you've lost a major point of attachment for your exhaust system on your Yamaha. And I don't want to get my head in it. See where the tape's on them? See where I got the tape on them? I can't even get this thing to zoom. There it goes. Right there. And right there, those 12mm head bolts. All the rest of them are going to be 14. Here, 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 here. And then the one down here. That's the really long bolt. My exhaust system is fully secured. Do not forget to tighten your lower clamp down there on that rubber boot. Tighten that up nice and tight. I've kind of snugged it before and that wasn't tight enough. Okay, so now we have, we got to get this on, and I've got to get the little tube on that goes to that Zerk fitting that I showed earlier in the video. That tube is down over. I got to reach down and grab it. I can't do that. All right, so you see we got it running along the box in those tie wrap spots. All this is up. It's not anything hanging down low. Nothing's going to get into the power mechanism. We're here along the hull. I think, let's see, yeah, that's it. Pretty much running everything down this side. That's it. Now I still have the air box to put on, but I'm leaving the carb open in case I need to throw a little fuel in there to get this thing to fire up for the first time. And that's always fun doing a first time fire up because you're gonna get a whole heap of smoke. Let's put a battery in it. All right, all you shade tree jet skis, we've got it together. Obviously, there's lots of cleaning and body stuff that's got to be done and seats recovered, but check this out. Let me see. Well, I got to get it on the stand to do this for you. Let's see. So I put some fuel in it. We're about to put this baby in the water. Sounds like it's loading up just a little. Smoking just a little, but it idles, baby. Let's see how it'll run. Well, you see what I see. It runs great. Starts right up, no problem. It's a little cold, just like most two-strokes are. It was a successful build, y'all. Shade tree jet ski got it going on with the ski in a box, because that engine was literally in boxes when I got it. It runs great. There's my 1200 that was stolen in 2023. I think this same weekend. This is Memorial Day weekend. I got that thing going here on the Sunday. I got to cover the seats and I cleaned up the hull a little bit. I got some of the graphics I got to take off. It runs great. Everything works on it. The speedometer works. The gauges work. The oil. It gave me the fuel warning, the low fuel warning. It gave me a low oil warning. All of that's working. So I put fuel and oil in it. Runs great. I did a break-in run on it. Quarter throttle, half throttle, full throttle. I've been told by someone in the know that you really don't have to do it. Some people swear it's better for the rings, seating, and getting a faster ski and da-da-da-da-da. I don't know. But I can tell you this. That 1200 will smoke that thing right now. I had fun. It was a successful build. I'm happy. Now we got to get its twin going. So that's the next project. See ya in the next video.